Welcome to Synthaholics. This is your host, David Duncan, and with me, my co-host, Brian
Hello!
Bannister. Hello, Brian. And then
Hello!
returning guest, the ye old Brad in a suit.
As always wearing a suit.
Guest, you might as well do it up. You better look good.
Absolutely. Well, last time we covered Arcane, it's been a bit, actually. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all the above. We're in 2022 now, and you know what that means?
We're in the future.
We're in the future.
And the
We're
future is
actually in
dark.
the year that Soylent Green takes place in.
Yeah, I mean, we're heading that way. We're so close.
Sounds delicious.
Yum.
We are here to speak upon the greatness that is Wheel of Time.
Wheel of
And
Time?
as we always do, we start off with our initial ratings.
I'm not going first.
Okay, you can go. You can go last. You know,
Yes,
here
thank you.
I'll go first. I'm not passing this season. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 for reasons that we'll get into. But right now, I'm at a 6. At the end of the podcast, we'll see where I get to because it seems sometimes our ratings change as we talk about it. But right now, I'm at a 6. Brad, you're up next.
I'm going to give it about a 7.25.
Ah, man, you ruined it, Brad.
I know, but, and again, we'll get into it, but as somebody who's not a fan, I have to judge it as, is it a decent show? And as a show, I don't know, we'll get into it.
I have to also give it a 6, and this is why Brad ruined it. We could have given the show the old 666. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, the show...
Mark of the Beast.
As a fan, I am massively disappointed of the books. There are issues, some which they could not overcome due to Barney, the guy who played Matt, leaving in the middle. I hope he's okay. I hope his family's okay. The circumstances of him leaving are not spoken upon on the internet, as far as I can find. It was after one of the COVID breaks, and he didn't come back. So I hope he is fine. I hope his family's fine. I don't think he played Matt like Matt, but his performance was freaking amazing, and I loved him as Matt. Just because his performance was so strong, even though it wasn't like Matt in the books, but it was still a great performance, and I'm sad he's gone. But that also caused a huge hiccup in production. But other people I've seen talk about this season and say, well, if they had 10 episodes, it could have been better. I'm like, well,
It's potential where it could be better because originally the showrunner did ask for 10 episodes and he was told no because they wanted to get it out sooner.
He did ask for 10 episodes, which I get. But the thing is, if he got 2 more episodes, would he have tried to adapt the book, or would he have still just made stuff up? Because that's my biggest problem with the show right now, is that he adapted as little of the first book as humanly possible, and he made the rest of it up. So, I mean, like, I don't know if 2 more episodes would have done the show any favors if he just kept making stuff up, because I think that's why the show falls apart, is because it's not following the structure of the book.
I think the best thing you could have done if you
episodes
had
for
2
this
episodes was character development.
Yeah, 2 more episodes for this would not have made a difference. And the reason is that they were going off book. The classic example is The Expanse. With the first season, they wanted 13 episodes. They only got 10. And so they said, well, we can't fit the first book into 10 episodes, so we'll do the first 5 of the second season. We'll finish up the first book.
And they did such a good job.
The second book. And again, that was a bold decision. And it worked out for him. But
it paid
2
off.
more episodes when you're not following the book wouldn't have made any difference.
That's the thing. I mean, the problem I have with the show as a whole is that it lacks character development for our main character. And we wasted 2, like, I mean, this is a review of the second half of the show, but we're also kind of going to be, of course, doing the season recap. I assume your numbers were for this season.
Yes.
As a whole, yes.
Yes.
So
yeah, probably.
Episode 5 and 6 were mostly fabricated. As was 4, as was 1. I mean, more or less the beats were in line with the show for episode 1 and book 1, but they just showed completely different things that weren't written as that way in the books. It of course happened, so he was showing stuff that didn't happen, so that's fine, I guess. But episodes 4, 5, and 6 were mostly completely fabricated, and they had a couple scenes sprinkled in, like meeting Loyal, that was from the book, which was more or less right out of the book, except they met in a different town called Camelin because they never
Loyal's cool. Loyal is cool.
Loyal's awesome. I love Loyal. He's one of my favorite characters in the book.
Well, it's like even talking about episode 5. You and me watched episode 5 together.
Yeah, for my
and
birthday.
I just kept asking you questions. Like, okay, what does that mean? And you're like, I don't know. It's not in the book.
It's not in the book.
You must have said that like 6 or 7 times.
I mean,
that's not a good sign.
I don't know. I mean, like the thing is, I mean, our main characters, Matt, Rand, Perrin, Egwene, Nynaeve, they all needed more character development. Guess what? We're gonna develop a character that's going to commit suicide. Woo! I mean, if we got 2 more episodes of Wheel of Time, would we have gotten another character and gotten a whole episode about them who's also going to commit suicide? I mean, like, I cannot understand why you would buy the rights to Wheel of Time or obtain the rights to the Wheel of Time and then not make the Wheel of Time. Like, if you, I'm not someone who knows law or understands plagiarism completely, but I might be wrong. But if you changed all the proper names of everything in the show, the names of cities, towns, and everything, the people, it would probably be its own original work. Because fantasy follows a lot of the same tropes. So, I mean, like, I don't know why he had to call this show Wheel of Time and then make his own complete show.
Well, there's a lot. I'm sure there is stuff like there's definitely things that happen in the show more than just using the name of the show.
There is, but episode 5, we basically just had meeting Loyal and then the wolves kind of coming to the rescue of Perrin and Egwene. That happens completely different in the book, but it's close enough and it looks really cool. So I mean, I was a fine segment.
Well, there's 2 things in episode 5 that I did. Well, one thing I enjoyed, one thing I found weird was we got more. What his name's Iman. Iman is the white robe guy. He was torturing Egwene and Perrin.
Child Valdar?
Yes, Child Valdar.
Him. Whatever, he was torturing Perrin, and that's when we found out that he has like wolf powers or something.
Wolf powers. Oh, it was hinted at earlier when the wolf came and licked his bloody leg.
Well, sure, there was that too. But we got like more like it wasn't just a coincidence. He is Wolfman or something. I don't know.
I have to
they
say,
don't get too much into it.
Whoever Egwene's agent is, they need to negotiate for a better contract because she had nothing to do this season. Nothing. If you would have taken her out of the show, you probably wouldn't have noticed.
She's Rand's love interest.
Yeah, that's why she's important. And she's Perrin's
Yeah, that's why she's important.
And she's Perrin's maybe love interest.
Maybe
too,
love triangle. Maybe?
Also wasn't in the book.
Again, it's no purpose, no direction. She has no arc over the 10 episodes. She's just there.
Yeah, she's just there.
That's why the showrunner made a lot of the changes he made to this season, especially in the last episode, which is probably one of the worst of the entire show. He didn't want all the characters doing nothing because Rand pretty much does everything at the last. He destroys the Trollocs in the books. He finds the Horn of Valere in the books. He does all the cool stuff that the last episode happened. He does it all. He gets supercharged with the one power and he goes berserk. And it's amazing. And some people don't like it because it's sort of like, it's so weird. It happens so fast. It's kind of hard to follow in the book. But he wanted it to be more an ensemble show, which, I mean, I get, but you're also undercutting the importance of the Dragon Reborn by like cutting out all the cool stuff he's doing. And then you're killing characters. Lord Algomar, the guy that he goes to defend the gap and he gets a spear through his chest like 2 seconds in out there. He's in the last book, alive and
well.
Yeah.
Made it through 25 books.
Again, it's one of these things, and this is common with pretty much anything, and you say, I know the property, I respect the property, and then I want total control. Once they get that control, they say, well, I can do better than the original author. I can do better than what's suggested to me. I can do better than, and I, great example when The Force Awakens was over. J.J. Abrams left a ton of notes and a ton of suggestions and a whole script for The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson said, I want total control. They said, okay, you can have it. And what did he do? He took all of those notes, all of that everything, and threw it out.
Oh, it's the same thing happened to George Lucas. Oh, here's a treatment for the next 3 movies. Since I'm not actually writing it, you can flesh it out and make it better. No, they threw that in the garbage also.
Well, to be fair, I can understand why they did that, because especially after the the prequels, they needed a fresh start. So I don't have a problem with that. The issue is like I said, with The Last Jedi, it was almost spiteful, where it was one of these things of, I'm not going to let somebody tell me how to make my movie.
Well, he went as far as going to theories online. He's like, I'm going to make sure I don't do any of them.
Yeah, and that might have been the same thing here with Wheel of Time, where the showrunner is like, well, I don't agree with the producers, I don't agree with the script supervisor. I can do better than all of that. I can make something that's going to be more entertaining for a general audience.
But there's also that fine line you have to ride between people who read the books and people who have not.
But the funny thing is, like, at least at home, that failed completely. My wife is not a fan of the book. She has not read the books, and she's like, what the hell is happening? The entire time as we're watching all the episodes, she's like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, I don't know either sometimes, because it's not following the book. I can only explain to you based on what I know from the book, and they're making so much stuff up. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
This is why I gave this season the rating that I gave, is that as an outsider, it was an all right show. Okay, my parents are actually watching this right now. My parents are in their 70s, and they're able to watch it and enjoy it the same way that they were able to watch and enjoy Game of Thrones, not knowing anything about it.
Well, Game of Thrones, to be fair, actually did follow the books way closer.
It's significant. There's things they left out just because the Game of Thrones books are like super long.
I mean, you can cut things out for the sake of time. That's called an adaptation. You're adapting the material to fit the time you're given. Wheel of Time was mostly fabricated, not adapted from the book at all. I mean, it's as little as humanly possible. That's what's driving me nuts about this. Because the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones were close enough to the books where you could forgive changes and liberties. And then they started diverging more from the books as they started running out of books.
Then they got into trouble.
And then they just went absolutely insane. But this is so far away from the book material. I halfway through the season, they could course correct. At this point, I'm not even sure how they're going to course correct. And they're not going to, as far as I'm aware. From what I've read, casting Rosamund Pike as Moraine is too important, and so the show is apparently her show now. I don't know if he's read the books. I mean, he says he's a fan, so I assume he's read the books. But Moraine isn't in most of them.
She's a main character in the first book, right? And then after the second one, she's kind of just not really around.
She's not in book 2 and 3 a whole lot. She's there. She's not in there a whole lot. She's in book 4 more, and then either book 4 or 5, she disappears until like the last book or the second to last book. She is gone for most of the time. So if they're trying to make her the main character, the show is going to be irreparably different than the show, than the books, because
they're just going to skip to them.
Yeah, are they just gonna do 4 seasons and just like, because from what it sounds like, seasons 2 and 3 are gonna be combined into one season.
What do you mean 2 and 3 are gonna books 2 and 3 or season?
Books 2 and 3 are gonna be combined into one season supposedly, so that they can feature more of Moraine. And I guess that's what they did to her at the end of episode 8.
Well, this show is definitely redeemable for sure. I mean, The Witcher season 1 was not good. It wasn't really that good. I'd give that one a 6 as well. But season 2 for The Witcher, they did improve things and they were able to change it up.
I'm not saying the show is irredeemable. I'm just not sure if they could ever get back on track to follow the books at all at this point. Like, they've changed so much, killed people who aren't dead, made up so much stuff that's not in the books. I don't know how they can course correct to get to the books. It's gonna be really weird, I think.
Difficult. It's gonna be difficult.
Well, and at this point, honestly, from what they've shown, they don't care about the books at this point. They really don't. The books are window dressing for the story that the showrunner is trying to tell.
It's like
That's just how it is.
Like he'll pull small things from the book here and there, and that's about it. So we've kind of talked about episode 5. Episode 6 starts off with an awful cold opening.
We learn about Susan.
Swan,
or whatever,
Swanson,
whatever her name is. I was super confused when I first saw her. I was like, "What the heck? Who is she?"
She's not in the first book.
Oh, she's not even in the first book?
They don't go to Tarvalin at all in the first book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
So,
well, the highlight of this episode before we really get into it was that Moraine takes a bath. That's my highlight.
Oh yeah, we get our first boobies.
Oh, she's also in love with her.
Swan, yes.
Yeah, she's also in love with Swan.
They're pillow friends.
That's not in the books, right? There's no way that's in the books.
They are described as pillow friends in the book. Some people say that they were lovers. Some people says that they experimented. Look, this is basically an all-girls school, an all-girls Hogwarts.
That's true. That's true.
This will happen sometimes.
A lot of scissoring. It all comes back to scissoring.
I mean, this will happen sometimes. I mean, like it's experimentation's gonna happen. You don't have boys.
We are. By the way, we are the perfect group to be discussing this in these terms.
So, I mean, it's gonna happen. Like it's gonna happen in a higher percentage. Like the way people generate sexuality, like generally homosexuals is in a lower percentage in a regular population, but in a concentrated population of just females, you're probably gonna have a higher percentage of people experimenting and either figuring out if they like it or don't like it.
How do you know this?
Stuff.
I got news for you. You look at a prison population; it's the same way.
I mean, you look at it. I mean, it's basically the same thing. Except you're in a school or a tower, and after it's your school, it's kind of your home. You live there. I mean, Moraine hadn't been to her home in years, so.
I hate to say it, but I used to work in a jail, and we used to have to read inmate letters, and that was the thing. Is like all these women, once they got out, we would get these letters in and it'd be like, yeah, it was cool when we were hanging out, but, now I'm on the outside and things are different. And so we're probably not going to see each other again. And
it's just how the world works, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's just when you're in a certain setting, certain things happen and that's fine. So, I mean, like in the books, the books came out in the 90s and homosexuality wasn't super like,
it
wasn't like something you could get like your book censored a lot, so he used the term pillow friends. So I mean, like the fact that they slept together isn't a big deal. In the books, Moraine is pretty much for sure bi because she ends up with Tom.
Okay. Well,
Brad's making this horrible face, and it's funny that you're making that face because Tom in the show doesn't look that bad. He doesn't look that old. In the books, he's described as much older sounding. So I made that face when I found out too. I'm like, what?
It's one of those things. You don't see
that coming.
Like what she would kind of see in him unless he's just like her dad or something. I don't know.
I don't know, but I'm just saying that she's not 100% gay. She's probably bi because of the way the book pans out.
Probably.
I mean, it's presumable she slept with Swain for sure in the books. That scene also, I mean, that was definitely made up because that wasn't in the book. It wasn't in book 1. They didn't go to Tarvalin. Swan isn't even in book 1. That's all made up. I mean, were they lovers? Probably at some point. That's fine. I mean, I don't have an issue with that happening.
No, I don't care either. I do want to say when they had to bring Swan into this because of what happens in this episode is Moraine gets kicked out of the tower, I guess.
Also didn't happen
Exiled.
in the book. Also,
it was very specifically worded, so all she has to do is say, come back to the tower. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's why it was so dramatic, but you saw that, I mean, it was so specifically worded that all it would take is literally just a summon back to the tower and everything's clear.
But the problem is they use the oath rod. The oath rod should not be used frivolously for another oath. Just her being an Aes Sedai and not being able to lie and say, I promise I will not come back unless summoned, should have been all it was required. They were just trying to get their rocks off, showing how the oath rod works. We're going to see the oath rod in future seasons if you decide to follow the freaking books.
Well, what was the point of the oath rod? If they can't lie or anything, why'd they even need to use it?
Exactly. There was no freaking point of doing the fourth oath.
Well, you know, it would have been like Star Wars without a lightsaber battle, right?
I guess.
It's Chekhov's oath rod.
Well, that'd be a lot worse fight. With
it's the oath double-ended dildo. You know,
the oath double-ended dildo.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, they also go into this is where they go into the ghost place. They go after she gets exiled. They go into I don't know.
Yeah, they go into the ways and they
the ways.
Yeah.
They go into the ways.
Mhm.
That's where the episode ends.
That was, by the way, a terrible, terrible setting because it's like so you've got this gateway. There is no sign of a road leading up to it. There is no sign of that. I mean, it clearly looked like you just had a crew come in and build this thing in the middle of a field. That it was bad.
Well,
this is kind of there.
Also, in the books, the gateway's like hidden in some kind of like alley. It's like just blends in with the wall. It blends in with the walls. It
was like going to in Harry Potter when they go to whatever that place is,
or Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and or Doctor Strange.
So
that's what it's like in the books.
You also
that would have been better. That what they did looked really cheap.
It was just in a field.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it would have been even cheaper because it could have just been a wall on one of their existing sets that had leaves on it. Because the way the waygates open in the books is that there's a leaf hidden in the design that's actually removable. It doesn't look like it is, but you can pluck it out. It opens up the gate, and you put it back in, and it closes the gate. You do not need the one power to open the gate. That's how they moved Trollocs. That's how the Trollocs got from wherever to the Two Rivers.
It's the same security system I have on my house.
Yeah, just a leaf. Yeah, just some leaf. It just comes out.
Well, they didn't. They chose not. So sounds like they chose not to do that and chose to put it in the middle of the field. Then
I mean, it sounds like they chose to do a more expensive way of doing it. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense the way they did it. The way they did it. It's like, here, let's waste money on this giant waygate when it could have been done. And the thing is, Brad said it looked cheap and bad, but the thing is, it could have been done even cheaper if they followed the way it was in the book. Just put it in an alleyway. And it could have looked
better, possibly, maybe.
Probably.
Stuff like that ruins shows for me because it's like, that's so amateur. Who made these decisions? Who storyboarded this out? This isn't, I mean, this is planned out and storyboarded and built in miniature and approved at so many points along the way. How did nobody step back and say, this looks bad, let's not do it this way?
Well, there might have been those conversations, but somebody whoever's in power just said, I don't care, this is the way I want it.
Who made those decisions?
The showrunner.
I don't know. See, the thing is, these books are incredibly long. They're incredibly detailed. They describe what these things look like. The Aes Sedai ring was described meticulously thousands of times throughout the books.
That's what I hear is
and
he described things like insanely to the point where like that's a criticism.
Yes.
I mean,
the details are to the point that you can lose your place because you're reading the details and don't notice that it switched to like a different scene because the details just kept flowing.
That's the thing. But the thing is, there's so many details, and the fact that they're getting so much of the costume design, the set design, the ring design, the Shan Shan design wrong is just like, why? Like it's just like they're just changing stuff to change it. It's
well, as someone who hasn't read the books, I thought the costumes and the sets and all that I thought they were fine for the most part. I was cool
Well,
with them. It didn't look bad. They didn't look bad.
it's fine, but the thing that bothered me is the ring and the Shan-Chan. That's the thing from a costuming perspective that is wrong. Like the rings aren't described as ring pops in the books.
They're not.
Well,
Dang it.
As far as costuming, I want Rand's jacket because that jacket that's a good look. That thing looks warm.
I like Moraine's like shoulder pad. She looks awesome. She looks like a battle mage. I like her
They all
outfit.
look cool. I think they all look cool.
They do, except in the books it's subtle. Like they wore whatever color dress they wanted to, and they wore a shawl to represent what Aja they were at. Because I mean, like in the way the show is presented, every white cloak should be able to immediately pick out an Aes Sedai, especially a group of them if they're all traveling together wearing red or blue or yellow, because they're all wearing like obvious colors. In the books, they wore whatever. I mean, sometimes, yeah, Moraine would wear a blue dress, but she didn't always wear blue exclusively, no matter what. She always had her blue shawl.
You don't understand, David. Your audience is a bunch of babies that can't understand that if you're not wearing blue, that you're not a blue wizard.
Gandalf the white, Gandalf the gray.
I'm too stupid to figure it out.
Well, I mean, that's really where the show is made from. It's made it's made for.
If we don't put the captain of the ship in a different colored shirt, we might get confused that he's the guy in charge.
And not swapping the poop decks.
All them
Clean
poop
the poop
decks. So that episode ends with our sad Barney being left behind. Obviously, just random shots they had of him standing there.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that he had problems. I didn't know that he was like he had to leave the show because I thought he was. I thought there. So is he not going to? Do we know if he's in season 2 or not? Because I liked Matt.
They recast him.
He's been recast.
Oh, he's recasted. Okay.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I hope this guy is a good actor. This new guy, he's got like his headshot is more of him with a smile, and Matt's always been described as having this woman's. Matt in the book was always described as having this winning smile that always got him in the trouble with girls because they would just kind of swoon for him or whatever, and he could just like pick up whoever he wanted because he was cute and whatever. So I'm hoping this will be a Matt that feels more like the book Matt. So
we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. So that's a big change. Matt just leaves because they just had to shoot it that way because he left the show.
Choice.
They left the show.
I thought now that I know that, I guess that's okay. I'm okay with the way they had to do it.
I mean, the thing is, the ending 2 episodes were gonna be a train wreck no matter what because of his departure. They're gonna have to write weirdly around it. Although, if they would have followed the book more, it wouldn't have mattered as much because Rand does everything at the last second. But episode 7 opens with the best cold open. The best cold open of the entire season. Probably the second best scene behind the Manetheren scene. The Manetheren song scene is still my favorite scene in the entire show. It opens up with an ale, Maiden of the Spear, pregnant, and just fucking people up. Like just making them have a bad day.
Acting scene of 2021.
Remember when I told you I was waiting for that oh wow moment to recommend it? That's where it was. That was your Sir Arthur Dane. That was your Jaime Lannister and Ned Stark battle. That was it right there.
Make it 7 episodes in.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was great.
I mean, like they should have had this like show up sooner, so we could have gotten like that recommendation moment because that was such an awesome scene. She was amazing.
Yeah, what if the show started with that?
Because the cold open, the cold open.
This isn't in book 1, right? What's going on with that cold open? That's not book 1 or 2. Isn't that book 3? I don't remember where this scene takes place. I mean, like it's a flashback. I mean, it obviously happens because Tam Althor says he found a Maiden of the Spear dying on Dragon Mountain. He helped her with the baby, and he raised the baby as his own. So I mean, like it's described generally loosely like that in the books. They're just showing us what happened, which is fine. I mean, like it wasn't described like that exactly, but I mean, it was a cool scene. Like if you're going to add stuff that makes sense and adds to the lore and expands what we know, that's great. When you're making up stuff about characters who never in the books, that's where I start having issues. But this was great. This was amazing. It was well choreographed, beautiful. Like the funny thing about the show beyond
some of the writing issues and how it doesn't follow the books. It's also super inconsistent in how they shoot things and how good things look. This is probably one of the best looking scenes in the entire show.
For sure.
From
I
a
agree.
from a technical filmmaking perspective, the camera work is great.
When they're running up behind her with the camera. They had
Yeah.
like the camera following her.
Yeah, like they did really good shots. I mean, this was the best scene in the, and then all these other scenes are really boring, bland shots there where they didn't do correct color grading and all this other stuff. Like this scene, and then it's also got to be mostly CGI. She's probably just on a green screen stage because she's like on the mountain slopes.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
like,
that was something else I pointed out to David is, yeah, these scenes are really well choreographed and go really well when you can take stuntmen and put helmets on them and you know, stunt women that don't have to deliver dialogue.
I mean, it helps, I guess, but man,
I mean, again, you know, I'm watching like Daredevil season 3 right now, and again, some of those fight scenes and stuff like that where they have to move stuntmen in and out and whatever like that, and it's like, because you're not going to get one actor that can just do these continuous fight scenes with all the blocking and choreography and deliver dialogue and everything like that. It's just too much.
Yeah, I guess it is what it is. For the most part, there's not much more you can say about it, really.
Yeah,
they just did such a great job with that cold open and brutal and great, and like that's setting a precedent for how awesome the maiden of the spear are and how awesome the ale are. Like that's one thing the show nails. Like that's pretty much how I imagined ale to look. They'd be badass. They'd be able to take people out, and they use spears. That's correct. The only gripe I kind of have with the scene is that she lowers her mask, which
Mhm.
Tom made a point of saying, when the mask is lowered, you're safe. When the mask is up, you're a dead man. Like they mentioned that in the lore of the show, and then they just forgot about it.
Disregard it.
I mean, like that's how it is in the books. When the mask is up, they're in killing mode. But the thing is, people are like, "Oh, she's having a baby," and I'm like, "Fine." And I mean, people want to see the look on her face when she's killing people and stuff, and also
It does show more
pain.
emotion.
It does show more. It hurt. I mean, like I understand from a filmmaking perspective, and it is a good. Just from a like, it's a minor gripe from a lore perspective, especially since Tom did bring it up earlier in the series. So like they're kind of like forgetting their lore. And that's also especially a problem in episode 8, where they're like, "Don't touch anything in the blight, but go fall asleep in the blight. That's cool."
We're not there yet. We're not on episode 8 yet.
I know.
That looked like a safe place to rest. It was the same thing in the ways. I'm like, that doesn't look like a good place to camp out.
Well, hold on. We gotta get through episode 7 first.
Yeah,
episode 8 is where we're gonna spend all our time talking about.
Yeah.
So let's jump to another part of episode 7.
Right.
Nynaeve is in love, I guess, with Lan.
Yep.
They love each other. They show that. This is where we see the fortune future teller person that I don't fully understand. I've watched her scenes multiple times. I'm still kind of confused, like where she's just kind of a barmaid person that can see the future.
Yeah. She's described as a tomboy and wearing pants in the book. I can't even get that right.
Oh yeah, she wasn't wearing that.
She was not wearing pants. Like it's like
a tomboy.
It's like one of the main descriptions of her in the book, that she's a tomboy and she's always wearing breeches.
Well, you know,
and she's wearing like a dress, but like it was cool. She was supposed to be like way earlier in the series, but they put her here for whatever reason.
I thought she was cool. What did you guys think of her?
I thought she was cool. She's one of my favorite characters.
It's just we kind of need a little bit of explanation. If you're gonna have
that's my problem.
If you're gonna drop Cassandra in the middle of your story, kind of explain that.
Well, I think it would have been easier to explain earlier, because she's introduced pretty early on in the book, and they dump her in late, and they just say she sees glimpses in the pattern. So basically, and I like the way they kind of described it in the show, is that like basically when Tam took Rand as a child through Tar Valon, where she was, Rand is such a Taviran that he warped the pattern around her and made her start seeing visions. Like he changed her into what she is when he was a baby just by being near her, which was kind of cool. Like he just gave her the ability to see visions and they all come true. She basically can see uh the future. She sees things about people, like what they are, what they're hiding. Like she sees the truth of things.
How'd she get these powers?
I just said.
Yeah.
Oh,
When
okay.
he
I
brought
thought, I
Rand
don't,
through.
Would Tam happened to walk Rand right next to her, and him being Taviran gave her those powers. Like the
okay.
Taviran, what Rand, Pat, Matt, Perrin, and I guess now they're saying Nynaeve and Egwene are Taviran. They weren't in the books, but they might as well have been. Like they've got just as much plot armor basically as everyone as the other three guys. So I mean, they might as well be Taviran. I don't
Yeah,
have an issue.
Brian, we don't start drinking till we start on episode 8.
So she is she's caught up in the pattern near Rand, and the pattern knew Rand needed her in his life later on, and he would need these powers in her. So the pattern gave her that power as he brought by her. Like it doesn't happen
Okay.
very often for people, but she becomes the main character of the show.
Okay, I got
I
you.
mean,
I got
in the
you.
books anyway. Like she is very important. She's pretty much Rand's sidekick through most of it. A lot of it.
My little
At
brain
least
was
in the
trying to
books,
catch
yeah.
up.
Which would be cool because she was a really good actress. I mean, you could definitely she delivered a lot of sarcasm, a lot of weariness and stuff like that in a very small role. So she was good. I hope they keep her around.
Yeah, I mean
I think they will.
she's a big character in the books. I mean, Rand keeps her by him all the time. I mean, like Rand has a couple girlfriends throughout the series, and she pretty much like is the only one that actually travels with him on wherever he's going. I mean,
She's
sometimes
there for the road.
yeah, I mean, sometimes he goes off on his own, but like she's there with him a lot.
Well, I can't remember really much more that happens in episode 7.
Perrin says, "Oh, is that Podden Fane?"
I like that guy. Big mouth man.
He says that in episode 7.
Okay, well, he's also in episode 8.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's in episode 8.
Well, that's
But he's towards the
neato.
end. So let's start at the beginning of episode 8, where they
Rand has
Moraine
discovered
fake
he's
dies.
the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah. Oh, that's in episode 7. Doesn't he
Yeah.
say that at the end of episode 7? He goes to Moraine.
I am the
And
Dragon Reborn. It's me. Take me.
It's me. After he's done shooting his arrows into some hay.
Because her prophecy is that if they all go into the eye of the world, that they'll all die. That doesn't happen in the books. They all go to the eye of the world. They're all fine.
Well, according to the show, you're wrong.
It just seemed like, okay, so we've got no training, no briefs, no montage, no nothing. We've just gotten these characters together. Let's take them to the eye of the world. Let's take them to the most dangerous place that there is. No one is armed. No one is prepared. We have no provisions. Let's just go.
Yeah,
Unprepared.
See, in the book, like all throughout, Lan is giving actually before they get separated, Lan is giving Matt Rand. They should have had a montage like super early on, like in episode 2, like before they got the Shadow Logoth of him training them, because he trains them all in their weapon. Like he trains Aaron in the axe, he trains Matt in the bow because he uses the quarterstaff, and the Rand in the sword because he's got the Heron Mark sword. Also, we should definitely talk about that cold open for episode 8.
They go back in time.
It was my second favorite and also most hated cold open.
It starts off with them going 3,000 years. 3,000 years back, was it?
This is the original. This is the dragon. This is Luz Theron Telamon.
And where they go back in time.
Yes.
Lugasa Jr. Got it.
Luz Theron. So the look of the Age of Legends was amazing. They got that right. There were flying vehicles. It was super futuristic and high tech because men and women were using.
That threw me for a loop. That was when I saw flying cars. I was like, "What in the world?"
Okay, so the Wheel of Time, the first age. We are living during the first age. We are in the first age right now. The second age is the Age of Legends, where the one power is discovered, and men and women can use the one power, and they are able to make amazing things using the one power in concert. because you can only do certain things with the one power if men and women work together. That's partially why the third age is so dystopian, because only women are using the one power, because they can't accomplish the great things they accomplished in the Age of Legends, because the one power is now tainted from the male half. So all the visuals in the cold open were freaking amazing. Everything else about the cold open was a travesty to the lore of Wheel of Time, because it is.
Well, they did follow the books.
They did.
They showed flying cars.
They should. I mean, but everything, all the dialogue was completely wrong. Like, it made me so angry. Yes, she was against his plan to go to the Dark One, but she did not know that the Dark One would taint the one power. She did not know that, like, all these things she was saying, like, as fact, like, she did not know any of this. She had a different plan, and they had to back off on her plan because it wasn't going to work. And like, it makes me so mad. And even in the dialogue that they set up in the show, like he's asking her, if you help us, we can win. And she's like, yeah, nah, we're not going to help you. We're just going to pick up the pieces. And I'm like, you're not saying no. It won't matter if we help you.
This is what we call in the business an exposition dump, because they got to episode 10 and realized we haven't explained anything. So all of a sudden we're going to put this person in that knows everything and is going to predict everything that's going to happen, and it's going to not feel natural at all.
Because it's wrong. It's wrong against the lore of the show. And then she called him the Dragon Reborn. In this turning of the wheel,
it sounds like you're struggling about what you're going to say. You're like, oh god, I hate this.
You see, he is technically the Dragon Reborn, but he's just the dragon, because this is a new turning of the wheel. This is the second age. He is the first dragon of this turning of the wheel. The third age is the Dragon Reborn, because they named him Dragon in the second age. He is not the Dragon Reborn. He's the dragon. And then in the third age, he's the Dragon Reborn. And then in the fourth age, he'd be the Dragon Reborn. And then once the wheel turns and starts over again, there'd be the dragon, and the Dragon Reborn, the Dragon Reborn.
In the fourth age, he'll be, Mittens, Destroyer of Worlds, and
I mean, he'd probably be the Dragon Reborn again in the third age, because he's loose there and Telamon Reborn. But it's just like, she's just, everything she says just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, why are you ruining this? Like, she had her own reasons in the book for being against it, and they could have like paraphrased it, but she made all her dialogue was made up to be like, men are bad, women are good. It's the same thing we get in the new Star Wars movies and the new Star Trek series. Men are useless, women have all the answers all the time. And it's just like, ugh.
It sounds like that hurt to get out. Like it hurt your soul to explain that.
It's just, everything's the same. Everything's cookie cutter of the same thing. Star Wars, Star Trek, now Wheel of Time. Everything's doing the same thing, and it's not exciting or riveting television or movies when you're doing the same thing as everyone else is doing. And
but it's safe because everybody else has done it.
It comes out uninspired every time, and I'm just like,
look. We can't all be Firefly, where you've got a whole team of people that work together to achieve a task, where some people have good ideas, other people have bad ideas, and everybody works together and achieves a goal. We can't do that anymore.
Or Star Trek, or old Star Trek, where they did the same thing as Firefly. New Star Trek, it's all Michael Burnham all the time, all the way.
Of course.
Well, moving past the cold opening of episode 8, it's clearly David's about to cry about this cold opening. Got to move on a little bit to.
We haven't even gotten to the bad parts yet.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet, but let's
the cold opening for you two. The cold opening for you two was like, wow, that's cool, and I'm just like,
why is it in another language? Why?
That's the old tongue.
Okay, explain that. Why?
It's like cunnilingus. It's like the old way of cunnilingus, I guess. I don't know.
Again, it's one of these things that it's like, okay, if you're gonna put something in your stories like this, that's fine, but put a reason behind it. Okay, but why are they speaking the old tongue? Why do we have to see them speak it in this other way? Why can't they just say, maybe have an accent or something like that. But no, it's they've got to put it in this language that ruins the performance.
Well, that's the way they decided to do it.
Okay, yeah. Hopefully, when Lews Therin starts talking to Rand, hopefully he'll be speaking in English and not the old tongue. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed on that one.
Which, by the way, wouldn't make sense if it's really him. Then they should speak two different languages, shouldn't they?
Don't think about it. They obviously haven't.
Don't think about it because the showrunners have not either. Okay.
Again, who is making these decisions?
Jeff Bezos. Paging Jeff Bezos. Who's making
Jeff
these
Bezos,
decisions?
hello?
Are you in
We need to
space?
understand. Are you in space, or
Are
can
you
you
in
talk
spa-
about Wheel of Time right now?
Jeff Bezos is worth $200 billion. I don't think that he's that focused.
He's not
on
directly
Wheel of Time.
involved.
What? He's not directly involved?
He's not directly involved.
Hey,
You're breaking my heart.
Hey, he wants his Game of Thrones, and they have barely delivered any tits. So, I'm pretty sure he's not doing the right thing. Jeff Bezos, hello. Like we got like old middle-aged woman tits in the bath scene that Brian was so excited about. So we know Brian likes MILFs.
Well, and again, this is part of the problem that I look at, and I said with the first 4 episodes and also with Arcane. Who is this made for? Okay, this is not made for the Game of Thrones crowd because it doesn't have the level of violence and profanity and everything else that
Well,
Game
it's
of
made for
Thrones
as many
fans
people as
want.
possible.
It's not made for the fans of the books because they're not sticking to the books. Who is this made for?
As many people as possible.
It's made for Rafe, the showrunner. He's doing his own thing, and he'll do his own private showings. He'll do his own private
It's
showings.
made for him.
He'll jerk off to it because like this is mine now.
This is mine. I ruined it for everybody.
Yes, it's made in my image.
I make people angry, and it makes me horny.
That's probably it. We've now answered that question. Next,
We figured it out. Well,
you know what?
Talk about
I hope
the
you're right.
sleeping in the forest.
I hope you're right.
He made his own private movie theater in his house.
yeah, just to watch his own show. Like this is
Yeah,
made
just-
for me. I made this for me.
You're watching this podcast, you're like, success.
People are starting to realize. Oh man.
I hope he will.
Yes, your anguish sustains me.
I have lots of
Oh
anguish.
gosh.
I hope I make you happy, Rafe.
Okay, so episode 8.
Uh-huh.
Where do you all want to start? There's a lot to unpack here.
Well,
You pick.
Okay, I pick. Moraine fake dies.
Oh, the dream? Oh my god, the dream. Oh my god. Okay.
I triggered you.
Okay. The show really needs to start differentiating between having your dreams invaded and being in the world of dreams. Because Rand committing suicide in the world of dreams would have resulted in him dying in real life.
Oh wow, that's completely different from. Wow,
But
that's
his dream might have been invaded, and if it was his regular dream being invaded by Baalzamon, that is fine, because it's a regular dream. It's in his mind. But if he moves into the world of dreams, which is something you can do if you're practiced enough, Perrin's wolf abilities actually just let him wolf dream whenever, and that takes him to the world of dreams. Aes Sedai have Terangriel, which let them enter the world of dreams whenever they want. And some people can do it just on their own. They just have the ability to just enter the world of dreams.
yeah, you just put on the red and black sweater and the fedora and the claw hand, and you just go into the
The world of dreams, yeah. So you can do different things, but they really need to start explaining that there's a difference between the world of dreams and the regular dreams. Because I mean, I think in when Baalzamon invades their dreams, they're just invaded, but they were all together at one point. Like in the one dream where Perrin was like hammering the one thing, the corpses with his hammer, and they were all kind of together. That might have been the world of dreams because it looked a little bit different. they're not explaining this in the show lore.
Not at
the
all.
show's
Not
lore set.
not at all.
And there is two separate things. So Rand shoving a sword into his belly, like he shouldn't be too cavalier about that in the future because he might kill himself.
He just hasn't learned that yet.
I hope
He'll
so.
learn when he dies.
Yeah, I guess so.
Also, I like how Moraine's like, do not touch anything. Jump to next scene. Rand is like on the ground sleeping.
touching everything.
Yeah.
So in the books, Moraine creates a safe space with the power.
She didn't do that.
Where they're able to rest. And it's a whole group of them. Also, from the ways, they send the horses away. I know this was a couple episodes ago. But in the books, they bring the horses with them. The horses are fine in the ways.
There's one horse in particular that you like. There's a named horse.
She makes it all the way to the last book.
Again, it's one of those things, and this is where me and Brian like Brandon Sanderson so much. You set rules and you follow those rules.
Well,
okay.
Robert Jordan does in the books.
Well, yeah, he's in the books. He has rules. In the show, there is no rules.
No rules.
Exactly.
No rules. Just right.
Again, we if we want to know the rules, you've spent all this time to explain these things. The one thing that I will give him credit for is that they made it very clear that you can't, women can't see men's weaves, and so when Rand is using his powers, we don't really know that he's using it. And I think that was cool right up until the moment that they showed it. But other than that, they say these rules and then they throw them away.
Well, yeah,
we're bonded and we always know where each other are and we feel each other's pain. Oh, wait, now I have no idea where she is.
Well,
yeah.
They established her masking the bond when she went to go sleep with Swan. So I guess she just does it to hide from him whenever she doesn't want him to know where he is. Also,
so why bother going into the bond at all if you can just turn it on or off?
I mean, it does give you
why
benefits, I guess, when it's on. Sure.
So it's like marriage.
Kinda.
Turn it on and off.
My wife is not here right now, just for the record.
You will not be dying live on podcast.
Oh wow, that'd be a neat trick.
She watches this.
Well, in the dream, Moraine dies, and she doesn't really die. But my favorite part was when Rand shoots an arrow, and he sucks it into his head. And then I did not think we were gonna see his face, but apparently we were allowed to see his face. I don't know. I feel like that took away a lot of the mystery for me. He didn't see, it didn't feel as mysterious anymore once you see oh, it's just he just looks like a dude.
You have to give your villain a face, though.
I loved his performance, though.
His performance is good.
I hate that they used the scary face for jump scares because in the books,
that seems like all it was used for. The entire show just for jump scares.
Dumb. It was they weren't even scary jump scares either. They were just like, bleh. In the books, he speaks to them with the fire face, and he's trying to figure out which one's the Dragon Reborn. He's taunting them, and he's being mean. Like he is a villain, and he just does jump scare. It was just dumb. Like they just wasted his use in.
He's scaring us. He's not scaring the people in the show. He's scaring us.
Oh yeah, okay. But he's the guy that got to play him. He was amazing. I love him. I hope we see more of him. He was phenomenal.
Hopefully, we see more.
God,
I would think we would see more.
He was so good. He's not the Dark One. He is one of the Forsaken.
Yes.
So that's not the Dark One.
Not the Dark.
See, right? I thought that was the Dark One.
No, that is one of the Forsaken.
Well, he says it in the show. They do say he's the Dark One.
Yes,
multiple times.
Well, he's just putting on a show.
He's just a bit of theater.
Yeah,
I liked it because again, it put a face to the bad guy. That's once again going back to, episode 7, 8, and 9 of Star Wars, that we don't really have a really established, good, well-known villain. It's like, okay,
we've known about Palpatine for forever. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Palpatine's been around.
Somehow he lived.
He lived. He made it.
So I did like the fact that they put a face to him. You can tell that he's the bad guy, but he's not some kind of drooling maniac. He's threatening, but not, maniacal. I like that about him.
Well, in the books,
Yeah.
he's batshit crazy, and it's nice that they kind of tapered him back because he'd be
A lot. If he's supposed to be super crazy, they really made him. They really toned him back.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind
He
of.
seemed like he was a genius. Like the way he was talking, he was all like mysterious and.
I like the way they did it. I like the way they played him as mysterious and like suave and like sexy bad guy, and I liked it a lot. It was so well done. I loved his performance. I want to see more of him.
I think we will.
It was really good. But the that scene was also just really weird. So that scene where he's like he's tempting Rand with breaking the pattern and manipulating the pattern to his own
when they get into the shrine or whatever the heck thing, whatever that building
the Eye
is
of
called.
the World. So
is that wait, that's the name of the building that they're in?
The Eye of the, I guess so, because the Eye of the World in the book is not the Eye of the World in the show. The Eye of the World is like a pool of Sadine, the male half of the One Power.
Okay.
Which they didn't do. So the Eye of the World, like in the books, the Dark One's prison is Shale Ghul. It's this other place in the Blight. And I'm guessing they're saying his prison is here at the Eye of the World and not at Shale Ghul, or I don't know if they're going to use Shale Ghul for something else. I don't know. Maybe this is just one of the seals for the Dark One's prison, because the Dark One had like 7 seals. That was like.
See, what you're describing is very expensive, so we're not going to see it on the show.
Yeah. So
I feel like they should have a limited budget. It's an Amazon show.
It's not something you can go to Home Depot and just buy off the back of a truck. You're not going to see it. I mean, if he were in prison in like a prefabricated shed, then we would see it.
So the Eye of the World being this pool of Sadine was switched out for the Tangriel that had like 100 men's power put into it or whatever. Like it was more or less the same thing. They just swapped it out for the Tangriel and they just removed the Eye of the World. And I guess the Eye of the World is just location now, I guess, instead of the pool. And that's where the Horn of Valir was. It was at the pool of under the pool of Sadine that got drained when Rand went crazy, blasted. He first teleports and blasts the Trolloc army. Then he teleports back and blasts Balsamon. He makes a lightsaber out of the One Power and just smacks the crap out of the Dark One. And that scene, which is really cool. Like he basically makes lightsabers out of the One Power, and that's like kind of his go-to sword when he doesn't actually have a sword on him. It's great. And they didn't show that, which was a little bit sad. He just like it looks like he's handing them the Tangriel. It's like, here, take it.
Yeah, that is what kind of happened.
But the guy just doesn't do it. I think it was just a projection of one of the Forsaken. I don't even think he was really there. That's the way the show presents it, because as he's getting blown away, he's smiling, like he knows like nothing's happening to him. That's the way it looked to me.
Well, there's one part
I felt like the stakes couldn't have been lower.
Oh
yeah,
the last
it's not there.
Yeah, the last episode was absolutely miserable. It made very little sense. Thane's got Matt's ruby hilted dagger. That thing, if that thing nicks you, you'll die and with disease and pus, and you'll just decay like Shadow Logoth. Like that thing is a super dangerous dagger. Even to get nicked, if you get nicked, you're dead. And it looks like he's stabbing Loyal with that ruby hilted dagger over and over and over again.
He doesn't know what the dagger does.
Also, Loyal doesn't die, and he's already said Loyal's fine because he's shooting the next season. I'm like, then why are you showing him being stabbed? Like,
because he's gonna survive. They want to feel like the stakes mattered when they don't.
Like again, we're in a fantasy world where anybody can die and anything can happen and there are no rules, and I can just walk over a hill and no one's gonna find me or follow me. And
speaking of no rules, the One Power cannot heal death.
That is something that happens, though.
It cannot heal death.
In the show, it can.
Skywalker says otherwise.
No, it can't. You can't do it. You can't heal death with the one power. There's a point in the books where Rand accidentally kills a woman, and he starts channeling one power into her, and she basically starts getting up and shambling like a zombie while he's channeling the one power into her. And then it's like, yeah, it's not working. Has to kind of give up.
Gives up. Well, before we jump over to the ladies that were in war, I want to know a little bit about how they gentle Moraine in the show. They decide to gentle her. Is that something that happens in the books?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they gentle Moraine, and
ask
Rand
me
is just like, I'm going away now.
Should have brought a bigger bottle of sake.
Ask me if something happens in the show again. I dare you. In the books again, I dare you. The answer will be no, probably.
No. Okay, so they don't gentle Moraine. That was like a major thing I feel that happened in the
Moraine
show.
does get in battle and she gets messed up. Like she gets hurt pretty bad, but she does not get gentled. Actually, if you look at the special effects, it looks like she's being shielded. Like
Well, that's what it looked like to me.
if you freeze frame the special effects, it looks like she's being shielded, kind of like Logain was in episode 4. But I think
Okay.
Rafe has said in an interview she is stilled, and I'm guessing that's what they're going to be doing in season 2, trying to get her fixed.
Well, yeah, that's
so
they're not gonna leave who they consider the main character with no powers.
Yeah, so they're going to
They're
spend.
going to make it so that they don't have to spend as much budget on her using any kind of special effects until probably the end of the season.
Let's hope they don't do that.
Probably. That's probably what they're going to do. They're just like, oh, we're not going to blow our special effects budget on her. We're just going to take the powers away.
Keep her powers away from her.
Now that we have more people who can use the one power, we can't let her have all the special effects budget.
Yeah. Okay, so Rand just really he just goes away and he's like, I'm doing my own thing now, and then we don't see him again. Then we jump over.
Ask me if that happens in the book.
David, does Rand just say he's going to disappear and do whatever he wants in the books?
No.
Which
Okay.
again, with as dangerous as he is, how on earth are they just gonna let him walk away? That's
'Cause
why
there's
you
nobody
go
left.
in there with him in chains with 50 armed guards, okay? You don't just say, you know what, just the two of us, let's go on a hike into, Mordor and see what happens.
Well, Rand does go off on his own, but not here. The book 2 opens with Lan teaching Rand how to use his sword better. I mean, there's like a prologue that's like the dark one and doing shit, but basically the first chapter after past the prologue is Lan teaching Rand how to use the sword. So no, Rand does not run off at the end of Eye of the World. He is training with Lan at the beginning of the next book.
Hey, that's weird. Why would you train your main character to defend himself with a weapon?
Learning how to use the main sword. His sword, the Heron Mark. They keep bringing up the Heron Marcus's Blade Master sword. They've done nothing to train him yet in the show. I'm like,
well, I've got this Blade Master sword. Yeah, congratulations. I got a katana on the wall too. That doesn't make me a samurai.
What? Since when? Also, the one time we did see weapons training was with a guy who committed suicide who wasn't in the books, or at least not in that capacity.
Well, it seems like the moral of the story here so far is it doesn't happen in the books. That's not in the books. It's not in the books.
Which again, if you're not going to use the stuff from the books, if you're going to make stuff up, why are you going to make a show for the fans? Okay? They could have easily just taken all of these ideas, made their own show, and not had to pay royalties. Okay? Look no further than Mass Effect, Dragon Age, okay? Any of these, Anthem, where you basically say, you know what, we're just going to make this up. We're inspired by these things, but we're going to make it up and not have to pay royalties to anybody.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, that's
BioWare cut their teeth on making Baldur's Gate games. They made Dungeons and Dragons games, and they paid hefty royalties on those licenses for all of those games, and they still are. When you just say, you know what, we're just going to make our own thing. And then we wouldn't be having this argument. We'd be saying, wow, this was some really cool ideas.
We'd be judging the show on its own merits instead of it being based on a property, which is the same issue with Star Trek Discovery. And Star Trek Discovery being a prequel undermines everything that happens in it. If Star Trek Discovery was a sequel show, then there'd be less lore to complain about. But since they get everything wrong, it becomes an issue. It's like they try to set themselves up to be at some kind of fault, and I'm just like, why? I mean, it's so simple to just avoid it completely.
Yeah, it's not like we watch the Orville and go, you know what? That's not how the warp drive works.
Yep. Pretty much. I just don't understand. I mean, I was so excited for this show. Wheel of Time is my favorite book series of all time. Like, it's my favorite story. I love it to death, and it's just like gut punch after gut punch after gut punch. Star Wars. I'm at the point of apathy for Star Wars. Mandalorian's still really good.
I'm not a Doctor Who fan. That's all I got to say there.
I mean,
let's not talk about that. Let's leave that one to the ground.
Like Star Trek, I'm starting to get to the point of apathy with Star Trek with their new shows. It's just like, not good. I mean, Lower Decks is the one little shining bit of hope in that Star Trek universe where it's still enjoyable television. Just like everything I'm looking forward to lately has just been not
Dune
good.
Part 2. You got Dune Part 2.
Dune
that's
Part
not
2.
bad.
Yeah, that's true. We got Dune Part 2.
Yeah, come on. Positivity.
We got
Dune 2.
Like you guys said, the second half is the tough part of that book to make. We have no idea. We've seen nothing regarding that second half.
That's
well, I mean, the movie's still kind of like new.
And sure, but the thing is,
we're not going to get a trailer for it.
They also
if they're not currently working on the second movie, then they're behind the curve, because they should be. I mean, we should be getting teaser trailers probably in the springtime.
Yeah, I mean, we're still in winter. We can still get there. I trust Denis Villeneuve. He knows what he's doing.
But the thing is, he played it so safe with the first half, making the movie so grounded in a kind of reality that it's believable. Like, he didn't do anything too weird in the first one. So like the fact that the second half is going to be so weird, I don't know how he's going to be able to ground it, or if he's just going to have to make it up as he goes. Because I mean, he did make a lot of changes, but it felt like a good adaptation, because I mean, I did complain a little bit about how things were changed, but like it made sense. It made it approachable for someone who hasn't read the material. More so than the 1984 Dune, more so than the sci-fi Dune, more so than reading the novel itself. It made it simpler to follow, which is good. But the second half of that story,
it goes wild.
Yeah,
it goes wild.
That's why the 1984 Dune falls apart.
Well, it's even more than that. It's not even that the second half has a lot of big events and a lot of big set pieces, but it doesn't have a lot of dialogue. That's really the problem. Is how are they going to address the fact that the second half of the book has, maybe 100 lines in it? Are we just gonna is it just gonna all be visual, or are we gonna get Mad Max Fury Road 2?
I think that actually
Mad Max was good. I'll take that.
That's not bad. Fury Road was actually pretty entertaining.
It was pretty good.
But
that movie, they filmed it basically without a script. They had it storyboarded. They didn't have a script.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
But Wheel of Time.
Let's reel it back in. Reel it back in here. We got a war to talk about.
But Wheel of Time is 15 books long.
This show's not making 15 seasons. I don't think. Right now, it's not making 15 seasons.
But the thing is, that's fine. If you're cutting stuff out of the book to make it more condensed, that's fine. But they're not even doing that. They are cutting stuff out of the book, but they're just making up so much other stuff. It's just like, why isn't this your own creation at this point? So the battle. What did you want to talk about with the battle, Brian?
Well, I want to talk about how there's pretty much like untrained Aes Sedai kind of, and they're just like forced to give this random woman who I don't really know that well power, and she like defeats the entire army by herself. So like, I don't know. Then they all just kind of like die, and then one of them gets resurrected. Kind of. I don't like my goblin brain liked the way it looked, but like as soon as you start to like talk about it, it completely falls apart because it doesn't make any sense at all. At least that's what I
What
was.
your thoughts on that, Brad?
Again, when we're the one power, like I can even understand the Force in Star Wars, okay? Because the Force, we never really see in the movies anything absolutely insane take place, okay? When you start getting into some of the video games or whatever, where you see, Star Destroyers pulled out of space with the Force, that's one thing. But with the one power, they don't explain what can it do, what can't it do. I thought the thing where she pulled the darkness out of Matt and put it back into the knife, that's really cool, but I mean, that's what's the mechanics behind that? How is she able to even do that? We don't understand, and it's not explained in the show at all. And
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems to be the ultimate MacGuffin.
the one power is very detailed magic system books, and they haven't even tried to explain it. I don't even think they've used the word Sadine in the entire show, which is the male half of the one power. They did use it in the animated short, Sadar and Sadine, but they haven't used it in the book. Sadar, the one power is made up of 5 powers: earth, fire, water, wind, and spirit. Like your classic, like elemental powers.
Sure.
Um,
So what part of that is ripping darkness out of someone? I mean,
spirit.
I guess I don't know. I mean, again, we're dealing with the world with
But
no real rules.
but
Okay,
there are
even when you look at like the Elder Scrolls games, one of the big things that they always hammer on is in the Elder Scrolls games, there is no resurrection. There is no, if you die, you are dead. Period. Okay, so even that has an understandable system. This just doesn't.
I mean, the problem is they're making up so much stuff. They're really gonna end up biting themselves in the butt, I think, at some point. Because I mean, if they ever do start explaining the rules, they're gonna be like, well, "What about all the stuff in season one?" Uh, it, so what's happening is that they're it's not linking, and she's pulling power through them, which is a little bit different than the linking we saw with Logain. She's doing all the power herself, whereas linking, they're all kind of working together. What she's doing is she's controlling it all herself. They described it in the episode 7 that she can barely light a candle with the one power, but she was trained enough to become an accepted. So I guess she was trained in the technique to do this. Usually in this procedure in the books, the strongest person is the one doing it, because the more strong you are in the one power, the more power you can take before burning out. Theoretically, she should have burnt out first, since her innate power with the one power and pulling 4 people, especially even if she was just chained with Nynaeve, and pulling Nynaeve's power by itself should have burnt her out. But she was pulling from Nynaeve and then Egwene. Egwene is not as strong as Nynaeve, but she's close in terms of like raw power level.
Well, then there's 2 other people.
And then there's
that-
2 other people of we don't know their power level. I'm assuming they're as weak as the woman who started the chain in this scene, because they probably weren't trained at all, and she'd at least had the accepted ring. I don't understand. I mean they're explaining that you can burn yourself out with the one power, which is an important fact, that you can kill yourself if you, or other people, if you draw too much of the one power. But I really feel like it should have just killed her, and it should have broken the chain, and that would have been fine, because Egwene is strong with the one power, but she's not like this magic healer. Like Nynaeve is the one who's like the super healer who's figured out how to heal things that weren't thought healable ever, or not since the Age of Legends. Nynaeve is the super healer, and the fact that Nynaeve burns out and then Egwene, who isn't known as a healer in the books and isn't as strong, just resurrects her. I mean, people are saying that she's like not dead, she's just mostly dead, but I'm like, she looks almost as burnt out as everyone else. So I'm like, we're not really clear on the levels of death here. Like, are the other 2?
I don't think they're not going to kill her.
Are
They're
they-
not. I don't. They're not killing her.
She's too important to kill.
Miracle Max and get the magic pill, and yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna get some plant to save her.
Mostly dead is partly alive. But it's just, are the other girls resurrectable? Like, are they really dead? Like, there's so little explanation here, and it's just so poorly done. so poorly executed. They're just giving people things to do, and they're just destroying the lore of the show just by giving them things to do. I,
But it looked cool.
I
It
mean,
looked
it
cool.
looked cool blowing up the Trollocs, but it looked cooler when Rand did it in the books because Rand like does the lightning thing, then he jumps down, hammers the
Rand's
ground,
doing
and
his
makes
own thing now, David. He's doing his own thing now.
He's leaving.
He's leaving. He's doing his own thing.
Oh, he's doing
power. Just wander the countryside, and smell the flowers.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Oh no, he's doing what he did in the books, but just off screen for a while.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
Okay.
We got to
That
figure
way
it
it's
out.
still in the, okay. He'll just come
It's
back.
still canon. It's still good.
Oh, so he'll just be training with Land at the beginning of book.
Yeah,
He's like, oh yeah. It's like
I
I finished my walk. I'm fine. I just had to take a shit out in the woods.
Yeah.
No,
Simple.
we're gonna go. No, what we're gonna do is go the Gary Stu route, where now in the next season he's the greatest sword fighter when nobody has trained him. He knows how to use the one power better than anyone else, even though he has no instruction. You know, where and then just watch. Everybody's gonna be like, "This is Gary Stu. He's the same as Ray."
Yeah, pretty much. When in the book, it's not quite that way. I mean,
It again
in the books,
the problem here is you shouldn't have to be the one here explaining this. Okay,
we should just know. The show should tell us so we know.
exactly. And traditionally, when you're telling, especially fantasy stories, we're doing the hero's journey, right? Does it feel like Rand is on the hero's journey on this show? Does he feel like it in the books?
Who's Rand?
There's your problem.
Have we had any character development with Rand other than that? Oh,
He can shoot a bow. He can shoot a bow and arrow.
I'm mad at Perrin because he said something about Egwene.
He does a lot of blank stares at the camera and a lot of open mouth.
Yeah,
he has a cool jacket too.
Oh yeah, his jacket is his most.
He has a cool jacket. He can use bow and arrows, and he's a free spirit.
I really think that they put entirely too much stock in people not knowing and the big reveal that he's the Dragon Reborn, and that was what they built this first season on. Instead of just saying straight up, he's the chosen one, let's follow his story.
I mean, in the books, it's not even super sure. Rand doesn't even super embrace being the Dragon Reborn until the third book. Like he's really wishy-washy. He says, no, I can't be. Like for like book 2 and part of book 3, and book 3 is when he like really comes into it, like really accepting that he is the dragon.
If you're a man that can use the one power, it kind of narrows it down, doesn't it?
Well, Logan thought he was the dragon, and he's like, oh no, I'm not the dragon. I got stilled.
It's not me.
I got gentled.
Well, he doesn't have the protagonist plot armor, you know. If you don't have the little name tag that says protagonist, it doesn't matter.
It just has a sticker. Hello, I'm the protagonist.
I don't even think Rand has that sticker because Moraine's the main character.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, Rand's not even going to be in season 2. It's just going to be Moraine.
Yeah, it's going to be the Moraine show.
He's off. He's doing his own thing now. He's done.
He's being the hero everyone knows.
They told his story. He's done now.
Done. The dragon's not that important.
There's only one more thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
Padan Fain.
That did not
with his big old mouth. They show him again. I brought him up the first time we talked about him, and I'd bring him up again. I like that guy. I don't know why I like him yet, and I'm happy he's going to be in season 2. I don't know anything about him. I don't really know what he's about, but like he shows up. He's got like cronies with him.
I wish he had more to do.
He's cool.
He was supposed to have a showdown with Matt because of the dagger.
That doesn't happen.
But Matt's not there, so they just shoehorn Perrin into that scene because he's there.
Well, what else would they do? Because they weren't getting Matt back, so like they had. I guess Perrin was because really in the last 2 episodes, that's all Perrin does. It's kind of just like has a showdown with Padan Fain. That's really all he does.
And he just kind of stares at him and watches him walk away. And I wish they would have kind of gone into Fain more, because in the book he was more like Smeagol. Like he's a dark friend. He's like all twisted. He's all twisted and gnarly, and like he's been tortured by the Trollocs and the Fades, and
he's got a big mouth.
They're telling him he's gonna like be eaten once we're done with him. Like once is he's like a tortured soul. Excuse me. So like he's like I like Swanky Fane because they in the show he's like super swanky and he's like I got it.
he's
It's
cool,
like, he's
man.
cool. Like I like him, but like it would have been nice to get more backstory on him. Like he'd
They
been
would've
coming
been.
to the Two Rivers for a long time. They explain more of his
He just kind of
backstory.
showed up too. Like he was just like,
he
I'm
just
here.
he just sits there and looks like he's
I'm
king,
here.
and he's like, well, this is what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. I'm taking the Horn of Valair, which
Peace.
they never even mentioned the Horn of Valair before this point. There should have been several mentions.
I was like, why
don't know
did they
what he
care?
took.
What are they really
Yeah,
trying to
I don't
do?
know. No
The-
idea what he took.
The horn is like the nuke of the world of the Wheel
It's
of
the
Time.
it's the Horn of Gondor.
It's better. This summons all the dead heroes from the past to fight for you.
Oh wow, that is pretty strong.
Yeah, it's like Final Fantasy, but it's every summon all at once.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's literally a nuke, and it gets bound to one person. So only if one person blows the horn, only they
Penface
can
gonna blow it.
blow
He's
the
gonna
horn.
eat it. He's gonna absorb the horn into his mouth because his mouth is so big.
He, so once someone dies, then someone else can blow the horn and summon him. But for everyone else, like once the horn has been blown by one person, while that person's still alive, everyone else is just a horn. But for that one person, he'll blow it and it summons all the heroes from the past, which is going to come up in the next book because the next book is called The Great Hunt, which is where they're hunting for the horn and for Matt's dagger.
Or maybe they'll just skip that book.
Which
go to the
again, I feel like there are no stakes at this point. I feel like there are no stakes. Now that you've explained the horn, now it's okay. Those are
Cool.
stakes.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, we're gonna take this thing. Okay.
It's like they're making it for people who are fans of the books and they know what it is, but they're not explaining it, but they're doing a bad job of making an adaptation of the book so that they're making them unhappy. But at the same time, they're not explaining the importance of things to the people who haven't read the books. Like the Horn of Valeri, that's a big deal. That's a super weapon, basically, for the Wheel of Time. And
You say that, but that's okay.
I mean, now you know. It's just
Thank you, David. Thank you for explaining the lore of the show for me.
thanks for doing the show's job. You're welcome.
Thanks for doing the show's job. You're doing a great job.
David, I will thank you. You have enlightened me to the fact that this show is 1,000 times worse. At first, I thought, you know what? It could just be kind of a popcorn show. You turn off your brain and you can enjoy it. Now I'm realizing somebody actively hates the fan base.
That's what I feel like
There's
for
a
Star
guy
Trek
out
and
there.
Star Wars. It's just it hurts. It's like I'm a fan of these properties, and they're just
They
like
don't care about you. They
they
care
don't-
about money.
But if they cared about money, they'd make it so that the fans would want to spend more on it, not spend less on it. I don't understand. It's like they don't like money as much as they think they do.
Well, you're more niche than a general audience.
Well, but to be fair, excuse me, to be fair, he's right. I mean, Amazon is putting out the show. Amazon should be hyping memorabilia. It should be selling Aes Sedai rings. It should have, there should be merchandising tied in with this for the fans. They should have a reissue of the books. It should have all these other things. And it's like,
excuse me, can I get the classic Aes Sedai ring and not the Aes Sedai ring in the show, please? I just want the ring with the serpent biting its own tail, please.
Oh,
but I
God.
mean, when you really think about it, part of why Star Wars and Lord of the Rings have the cultural impact that Avatar didn't is because there was a billion pieces of merchandise out there with those things.
Merchandising. Spaceballs the breakfast cereal. Spaceballs the towel. Spaceballs the flamethrower.
I mean, I'm sorry, but if you haven't played like Shadow of Mordor, it's an outstanding game. There's merchandise out there. There's stuff to continue on with all of this, and it's like I just feel like I don't know. I don't know who's making the decisions, but they missed a lot of opportunities.
Tom Bombadil's making the decisions. They cut
Tom
me. I'm
Bombadil.
cutting everything else. I'm cutting the Green Man. I'm cutting the Aes Sedai ring. I'm cutting most of the plot. Green Man, gone.
So
Tom
me.
Bombadil, gone. Tom Bombadil's
Oh,
calling the
man.
shots. That's the deep cuts.
Well, I think we've reached our pinnacle of our
Because
review.
there's a character in Wheel of Time called the Green Man who's at the Eye of the World, and he's basically the Tom Bombadil of Wheel of Time, and he was also cut.
Of course.
Because of course he was.
Because
of course. All I know is I'm extremely nervous about the Amazon Lord of the Rings show at this point.
What's a book?
That's going to be a problem, I think.
Well,
so
I mean, you should be worried. Wheel of Time wasn't in the cards for an Amazon TV show till like a year or so after they announced the Lord of the Rings show. Where is the Lord of the Rings show?
Well, it's not coming out till next year.
But it was announced years before the Wheel of Time show, and the Wheel of Time show is out. I think
maybe they're being more
taking them 4 years to make like three 40-minute episodes.
I mean, hopefully they're taking more care, because I mean, the visual look of Wheel of Time was all over the place. It was messy. Like the Trollocs looked like Xbox 360 Trollocs.
Well, sometimes they look good.
The last scene, and like in the scene at the Gap, they looked awful. They looked great in the first couple episodes, but in the Gap, like the show's look is so inconsistent. It's just, I don't understand what's going on. And they're capable of great stuff, because just look at the episode 7 cold open. That was absolutely phenomenal in every way possible.
Yeah. Well, David, would you recommend season 1 of The Wheel of Time? As he thinks.
Tentatively, if it can pick up in season 2 and season 3. Otherwise, read the books. The books are the best. They're my favorite fantasy series of all time. Read the books. The show's okay. Like, I gave it a 6. It's not irredeemable. Like, you can adapt it if you start adapting it better and actually use the story, and it starts resonating with me. I'm like, oh yeah, that's like, it's the story I remember. These are the characters I'm in love with. Like if you start making it more Wheel of Time, and it's an adaptation. It's never going to be a 1-to-1. You got to cut stuff for time. But when you're cutting stuff for time and inserting 90% stuff that never happened, that's like, it feels disingenuous. That's why that's why I don't think 2 extra episodes could have fixed the show. Because if you're going to add 2 more episodes of more filler that never happened, is it
it's going to change anything?
I mean, we had 2 episodes that could have been adapted from the book that were complete filler. That
sure,
I have no idea like what they were thinking. So
Brad,
tentatively, I would.
Would you recommend The Wheel of Time season 1?
No. There are 100 better things to watch. I will say, if you want to just turn it on and just watch it, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing prohibitively bad to make you not want to watch the show. Some of the effect shots are really cool. Some of the fight scenes are really cool. Some of the characters and whatnot are interesting. If you're one of those people that's going to turn on your brain and ask questions and anything else, there's 1,000 other things on that are better to watch.
For the same reasons that you just said, Brad, I also wouldn't recommend it, but I'll say that with a little bit of what David said, tentatively, depending on how good season 2 can be. Right now, there's only 1 season. It's not worth watching it just to get it out of the way. Don't watch it unless season 2 can pick it up at all. That's what I'll say about that.
It's just, the show's not irredeemable. Like, it could be better. I mean, maybe it will be better.
It has to be better.
It might get a new showrunner. It took a long time for The Walking Dead to get Greg Nicotero.
Please, God, let them get a better showrunner. Like, the thing is, there are some insurmountable issues season 1 just could not recover from. Losing Barney playing Matt was a huge blow to the show, a huge blow to how the writing had to go for the last 2 episodes. Like, just there was going to be a bad problem with the show no matter what because of the departure. Like, I think that was unavoidable. Even if you had better writers, which the show probably needs, I still think it's next to unavoidable having some kind of falling apart because of missing a major cast member. So I kind of gotta forgive them a little bit, but doesn't excuse them for the first 6 episodes where they just made up most of it. And the thing is, like, at episode 2 with the Manetherin song and that exposition and that dialogue, like, why couldn't we've got more of that? Like sure, you got to cut stuff out, but you can like fill in the gaps of the lore with like nice little moments between your characters, like bonding and stuff like that. Like, didn't get much bonding between the characters.
That's boring.
Character
Come
development.
on.
I don't know, like, we just didn't get any character development from main characters. Tom was better developed in 2 episodes than Rand was in the entire series. Like, Perrin, got robbed of things that he would just sit there looking dumb most of the time. Like, I feel bad for him. Like, he's a good actor. Like, he's got some good acting chops. Like, when he went in this Rage Hulk out mode and then realized he killed his wife, I mean, that was a solid piece of acting. Like, I still hate it because it wasn't in the books and it just kind of ruins his character and makes him less likable. I mean, my wife was like, "Oh, I hate him that he's got to do with the wolves because I hate that he killed his wife." And I'm just like, I mean, like, the wolf power is cool, but they also haven't really explained that because they cut out a character that talks about how the wolf powers work and who also has the wolf powers. Like, I don't know, they cut out so much. Like,
I,
it,
I think we're in another like Game of Thrones situation where we get upset because of what should have been, what could have been, versus what we got.
Hmm.
So,
yeah, I'm just such a big fan. Just like I was a big fan of Star Trek, and then so disappointed at those coming out. And then I've got a friend, Carla, who's been a longtime listener of the show. She started watching Wheel of Time because of our first podcast on it. So we're sorry we're kind of negative on it, but she did buy the first 6 books, so she'll be able to enjoy the books and enjoy how good this series actually is. So I encourage any of you.
bad. This is the second worst pain that I've seen you go through on YouTube so far. I mean, this is the second worst pain that I've seen you experience because you're clearly distressed. I've seen you clearly distressed on video before.
Oh yeah, my kidney stone. This is like the wheel of kidney stone.
This is almost this is like a lot of the same features. You're just not shuffling in your chair quite as much.
Yeah, so bottom line, if you like fantasy and are interested in the show, if you watch the show, there's more. There's a lot more, and it's really good. Read the books. They're absolutely amazing. If you don't like reading, get them on audiobook. We're not sponsored by anybody. I've listened to many of them on Audible. I love them. It makes it a lot easier to get through. Like, I never actually read the Game of Thrones books. I only listened to them on Audible, so I don't even know if I'd have liked them reading them because I'm so into listening to stuff now. So if you're into reading, read. If you're into listening, listen. Like, these books are worth the story. There's so much more. You're missing so much good stuff if you don't read or listen to them. I encourage you to do what Carla did. Get those books, listen to them, read them, whichever. The show's okay. I hope the show will become great. We'll have to just wait and see. Let's see how the next couple seasons pan out. I mean, I'm not giving up on the show. I'm definitely going to watch it, but I'm definitely not excited anymore. I'm tentatively worried. And what about we didn't cover the cliffhanger for next season? The people with the BSDM things, ball gags. Yeah. Those are supposed to be collars. They're Aes Sedai, or they're people who can channel. They're called Suldam, and they're controlled by the Adam, which is a collar, and a person basically just uses them as a pet. I mean, it is BSDM themed, but like the collar makes more sense because Nynaeve, like, some of our main characters get taken by these people for a while. So like
Again,
if there's
the stakes, we don't none of this is spelled out. None of this is addressed. These guys show up on ships. So what?
All they do is tidal wave like a 6-year-old girl. Like, okay, why did you like?
Why?
If there was
what did that little girl do?
If there was an army there waiting for them, and the army gets tidal waved, that could have been like, whoa. But it was just a little girl. Like, why are you tidal waving little girl? Like, she's one little girl. It just, like, nothing about that last scene made any sense. That made no sense. And
Oh
and
man.
it just made me roll my eyes. Like they ruined they ruined the Aes Sedai ring. They ruined the Shan Chan with by having them with a thing in their mouth instead of a thing around their neck. Like it's just like these
I
things.
literally, until you brought it up, I had completely even forgotten how this
Yeah,
season.
I forgot about it
These
too.
Completely. It
these
had
things
zero impact.
these things are so well described in the books, and then they just do something else, and I'm like, why?
Why not?
Why is this called Wheel of Time? Are you taking stuff from the books and changing it just to change it? It's not making it better. Like if you're changing it, it should be for sake of time because you just don't have time to cover it, or you should be trying to improve it in some way. And none of the changes have made anything better, in my personal opinion. And my wife watched the show and she was like, "What the f?" Most of the time. Brian was like, "What do you have?" I mean, last time, I mean, even this time too, I've had to explain what they're trying to do because the show does not present itself
Well,
well
the
either.
things are more clear now because of your help, not only because of this podcast, because of what we talk off the podcast about what's going on as well. Because otherwise, it would just be you explaining what's going on for the entire time.
Well, and again, it's my final thought is again, it's always the one foremost in my mind because my father told it to me 100 times leading up to even today. Son, I'm not angry. I'm just so darn disappointed.
Man, him
Those are
hitting the wheel of time with that.
those are wise final words. I'm disappointed in Star Wars. I'm disappointed in Star Trek lately, and Wheel of Time has also
Angry.
disappointed me.
We're just disappointed.
Just disappointed.
On
Well,
that note,
on that note, we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next podcast.
Back to normal scheduling.
Yeah, back to normal scheduling.
Holidays are done.
New year, holidays are done. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Follow us on all the things, subscribe to us, and
Email David at
you can
synthaholics@yahoo.com.
email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com. And thank you all for listening, and I'm glad some of you are trying to Wheel of Time. Like I said before, just go for the books as supplementary material because the show is just isn't enough.
Goodbye.
One power be with you, one and all.
I thought you were just talking.
I guess this
my
time
wife got me these for Christmas. One of these days, I'll have to use these things.
Smurf ears. Yes. Oh, I said let's do a sound check, Brian, and you're like, this doesn't even ever work. It doesn't make us sound better. I just do the sound check to make sure we can be heard at all. I don't know how to make it better. So Brian, you should research that. Why do you come out so loud?
I sound fine in the sound checks. I don't sound fine on the stream though.
Oh, that's
a lot of it is, Brian, is that you make sweet, passionate love to your microphone during the recording sessions. Yeah. It's
I deep throat my microphone when
kind of hot. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
man, we got outtakes this time talking about deep throat and microphones and everything. This is going to be after the show. Absolutely.
After the show.
That was the Synthaholics magic back in the day.
This is the show after the show.
Yeah, Brad. Yeah, this is the show after the show. Brad, you can attest to that because he's heard our old outtakes. I would just put the mic on before we recorded, and we'd say ridiculous things, and then it just comes on.
Some really great ones,
and then tone it back down to PG-13 because we'll get canceled off the internet if we don't be PG-13.
Oh yeah. You see, you put it at the end. You put it at the very end because people have to listen up until the end, and then people don't do that unless they're really into the show. All right, I think that's right. We're all here. We can do a ye old sound checkamaroo.
Well, we do these every time, and it doesn't seem to fix anything.
Well,
I'm always too loud.
Well, the thing is, I like doing sound check just to make sure we're here. It more or less records right.
Here.
Checking issues. I always do a sound check before I do a sound check before my streams to make sure.
You do a sound check. Make sure we sound super awesome.
I sound really cool, guys.
I do a sound check before my streams to make sure my audio comes through because sometimes the audio doesn't come through.
See, there we go. My microphone was set to my Razer Kiyo instead of my Blue Snowball. So
yeah, that definitely sounds better. That sounds
better.
That sounds betterly.
Betterly. Well, I like to sound betterly.
Betterly-ish.
Betterly-ish. Okay.
Betterly-ish. Okay. Oh, like